Hey everyone, tonight we're diving deep into something you've probably never given a second thought to: the epic, blood-soaked, surprisingly dramatic history of towels. Yes, towels. That innocent rectangle of fabric hanging in your bathroom has witnessed more human drama than a soap opera marathon and survived more civilizations than cockroaches. So before we begin this journey from ancient Egyptian linen to smart towels that judge your hygiene choices, take a moment to like the video if you're ready to never look at your bathroom the same way again. Drop a comment letting me know what kind of towel you're currently using: terry cloth peasant or Egyptian cotton royalty. I'm genuinely curious. Now grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and prepare to discover that your morning routine is actually participating in one of humanity's longest running technological arms races. So, you think towels are boring, adorable, like thinking the ocean is just wet dirt. Picture this: you've just crawled out of bed, stumbled to the bathroom, and splashed water on your face like a civilized human being. What's the first thing you reach for? That's right, a towel. Fluffy, absorbent, probably hanging there looking innocent. But that innocent rectangle of fabric has a history more twisted than your morning hair, more dramatic than your soap opera addiction, and more essential to human civilization than you ever imagined. You see, towels didn't just appear one day because someone spilled wine on their toga and thought, "Gosh, I need something absorbent." Oh no. The towel's journey through human history is a tale of survival, innovation, class warfare, and occasionally pure accident. It's the story of humanity's eternal struggle against wetness, and trust me, wetness has been winning for most of recorded history. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Ancient Egypt, where everything important apparently began, including your morning routine. The Egyptians, bless their pyramid, building hearts, were the first to figure out that being wet was generally unpleasant and socially awkward. They didn't have towels as we know them, mind you. Instead, they had linen cloths, which they used for everything from wrapping mummies to drying off after their ritualistic baths in the Nile. These weren't your modern fluffy towels. These were flat, scratchy pieces of fabric that felt like sandpaper had been given a textile degree. The wealthy Egyptians, naturally, had slightly less scratchy versions made from finer linen, because even in ancient times, money could buy you a marginally more comfortable way to dry yourself. The poor, well, they got to air dry like human jerky, or use whatever rough cloth they could scavenge, which was often recycled from other purposes and probably smelled like whatever it had been used for previously. The Egyptians took their drying cloths seriously. They had specific cloths for different parts of the body, because apparently even in 3000 BCE, people understood that the same cloth you used on your feet probably shouldn't go anywhere near your face. Revolutionary thinking, truly. They also had servants whose entire job was managing these cloths, washing them in the Nile, and making sure they were ready for their master's next bath. Imagine putting "professional towel manager" on your resume. The job market was apparently very specialized, but the Egyptians weren't just randomly rubbing themselves with linen. Oh no, this was part of elaborate religious and social rituals. Cleanliness was connected to godliness, literally. The gods apparently cared deeply about whether you were properly dried after your bath. Priests had specific drying cloths blessed by various deities, because nothing says holy like celestially approved moisture absorption. The wealthy would change their drying cloths multiple times per day, not because they were particularly dirty, but because showing off your textile wealth was the ancient equivalent of posting your breakfast on social media. Look at me, their fresh linen seemed to say, I can afford to use a clean cloth every time I wash my hands. Revolutionary status symbols, these early towels. Now, while the Egyptians were perfecting the art of dignified drying, the Greeks were approaching the whole moisture problem from a completely different angle. The Greeks, being Greeks, turned everything into either a philosophical debate or a competitive sport. Drying off was no exception. Greek athletes, after their Olympic competitions, would scrape oil and sweat off their bodies using a tool called a strigil. This wasn't drying so much as aggressive skin maintenance. They'd follow this up with rough cloths that were less about absorption and more about aggressive rubbing until you achieved the proper reddish hue that indicated you were clean. Greek beauty standards were apparently achieved through mild abrasion. But here's where it gets interesting. The Greeks had different textiles for different social classes and occasions. Citizens had wool cloths, which were warmer but less absorbent. Slaves made do with whatever scraps were available, often woven from the cheapest materials. Athletes had specially treated cloths that were supposed to enhance their performance, because even then, people believed the right equipment could make them better at sports. The Greeks also introduced the concept of communal bathing cloths. Yes, you read that correctly. Shared towels. In their gymnasiums and public baths, there were communal cloths that everyone used. By everyone, we mean everyone who could afford to use the facilities, which wasn't everyone, but was still a lot of people using the same drying cloths. The hygiene implications are best not contemplated too deeply. Greek philosophers, because they philosophized about everything, even had debates about the proper way to dry oneself. Was it better to air dry naturally, as nature intended, or was using cloth a sign of human ingenuity and civilization? These debates probably lasted longer than most modern university seminars and were taken far more seriously. Imagine Socrates asking, "But what is a towel really?" and meaning it. The Greeks also connected drying cloths to their mythology. Different fabrics were associated with different gods and goddesses. Athena, goddess of wisdom and crafts, was naturally connected to the finest woven cloths. Poseidon, god of the sea, was ironically associated with the most absorbent materials, because the ocean needed to be properly dried off when it visited land. Greek mythology was nothing if not thorough. Then came the Romans, who looked at everything the Greeks and Egyptians were doing and said, "Hold our wine. We'll show you how it's really done." Romans didn't just use towels, they engineered towels. They created the first systematic approach to textile moisture management. Because Romans systematized everything, including the ways they got dry. Roman bathhouses were the epitome of towel technology for their time. They had different cloths for different stages of bathing. First, you had your pre-bath cloth, used for initial preparation. Then your bathing cloth, for use during the actual washing process. Then your drying cloth for afterward. And finally, your post-bath cloth for any final touch-ups. Romans loved their processes, and they applied this love to getting dry. The wealthy Romans had slaves whose entire job was towel management. These slaves, called lintari, were responsible for providing clean, warm cloths at exactly the right moment in the bathing process. They would heat the cloths over small fires, creating the world's first heated towel service. Imagine having someone whose full-time job was making sure your towels were always perfectly warm and ready. The Romans lived in a different world. Roman towels weren't just functional, they were status symbols. The wealthy had cloths made from the finest linen, imported from Egypt at enormous expense. These cloths were often dyed in expensive colors, purple being the most prestigious, because purple dye cost more than some people's annual income. Walking around with a purple towel was the ancient Roman equivalent of wearing a Rolex made of diamonds. But the Romans also democratized towel use in ways the Egyptians and Greeks never had. Even middle-class Romans had access to decent drying cloths, and the public baths provided basic cloths for those who couldn't afford their own. It wasn't exactly socialism, but it was a recognition that everyone deserved to get dry with some measure of dignity. Roman military towels deserve their own mention. Roman soldiers carried small drying cloths as part of their standard equipment. These weren't luxury items, they were practical necessities. A wet soldier was a cold soldier, and a cold soldier was an ineffective soldier. The Roman military understood that keeping their troops dry was essential to maintaining their empire. These military cloths were made from wool, which retained some insulating properties even when damp. They were treated with lanolin to make them somewhat water-resistant. Roman soldiers would use them not just for drying, but for cleaning weapons, applying medicinal salves, and even as emergency bandages. These were multi-purpose survival tools disguised as towels. The Romans also developed the first towel etiquette. There were specific ways to fold, hold, and use your cloth that indicated your social status and education. Using your towel incorrectly could mark you as a provincial, or worse, a barbarian. Roman etiquette manuals included detailed instructions on proper towel use, because Romans had manuals for everything. Roman women had their own towel culture, separate from the men's. Women's cloths were often perfumed and decorated with embroidery. They used different fabrics, silk for the wealthy, fine linen for the middle class, and wool for everyone else. Women's towels were smaller and more delicate, reflecting the Roman belief that women needed gentler treatment, at least when it came to drying off. But then, as all good things must, the Roman Empire fell, and with it went their sophisticated towel technology. The Dark Ages weren't called dark just because of the lack of learning and culture. They were also dark because people forgot how to properly dry themselves. Medieval Europe approached towels with the same enthusiasm they approached bathing, which is to say, not much enthusiasm at all. The medieval period was not a golden age for personal hygiene, and towels suffered accordingly. Most people simply didn't bathe regularly enough to need specialized drying cloths. When medieval people did bathe, which was infrequently and often considered medically dangerous, they used whatever cloth was available. This was usually rough wool or linen that served multiple purposes throughout the week. Your drying cloth might also be your tablecloth, your bedsheet, or your emergency bandage. Specialization was a luxury few could afford. The wealthy medieval nobility did have dedicated towels, but these were often more decorative than functional. They were embroidered with family crests and religious symbols, because even your drying cloth needed to proclaim your allegiance to God and King. These towels were often handed down through generations, accumulating not just sentimental value, but probably also some concerning stains. Medieval monasteries maintained the only consistent towel traditions during this period. Monks, being dedicated to cleanliness as part of their spiritual discipline, used simple linen cloths for their ablutions. These were blessed by the abbot and considered sacred objects. Stealing a monastery's towels was both theft and sacrilege, punishable by excommunication and possibly being turned into a cautionary tale. The medieval period also saw the development of the first towel guilds. Yes! There were professional organizations dedicated to the production and regulation of drying cloths. These guilds controlled who could make towels, what materials could be used, and how much they could charge. Medieval Europe loved its guild systems, and apparently even towels needed professional oversight. Medieval towels were often communal property, shared among family members or even entire households. Privacy around bodily functions was not a medieval priority, and this extended to towel use. Entire families would share a single drying cloth, which was washed occasionally and replaced when it literally fell apart. The medieval period also introduced the first recorded towel-related injuries. Rough, poorly made cloths could actually damage skin, causing rashes and abrasions. Medieval medical texts include treatments for cloth burn, which was apparently a recognized condition. People were literally being injured by their towels, but they kept using them because drying in medieval Europe was often too cold to be practical. Medieval women developed their own towel traditions, often incorporating them into their domestic skills. A woman's ability to weave, embroider, and maintain towels was considered part of her marriage ability. Young women would create elaborate towels as part of their dowries, spending months or even years creating single cloths that would be used on special occasions. The medieval period also saw the first towel hoarding. Wealthy families would accumulate dozens of towels, not for practical use, but as displays of wealth and preparation for guests. These towel collections were inventoried in wills and passed down through generations like precious heirlooms. Some medieval inventories list towel collections worth more than livestock. But medieval towels weren't all rough and primitive. Some craftsmen developed techniques for creating softer, more absorbent cloths. They would beat linen repeatedly to break down the fibers, creating a more flexible and absorbent material. This process took days and was labor-intensive, making soft towels extremely expensive and rare. The medieval period also established many towel superstitions that would persist for centuries. A towel falling to the ground was considered bad luck. Borrowing someone else's towel without permission could curse you with their skin problems. New mothers were given special blessed towels for their infants, because regular towels weren't considered safe for babies. As Europe began to emerge from the medieval period, the Renaissance brought renewed interest in personal hygiene, and, by extension, towels. The Renaissance wasn't just about art and culture. It was also about remembering that being clean was actually pleasant and healthy. Renaissance Italy led the towel revival. Italian states like Florence and Venice became centers of textile innovation, developing new weaving techniques that created softer, more absorbent fabrics. Italian towels became luxury exports, sought after by the wealthy across Europe. Having an Italian towel was like having a piece of Renaissance sophistication in your bathroom. The Renaissance also saw the first printed books about household management, many of which included detailed instructions for towel care and use. These manuals treated towel maintenance as a serious domestic skill, with specific techniques for washing, drying, and storing cloths to maximize their lifespan and effectiveness. Renaissance artists even included towels in their paintings, often as symbols of purity, domesticity, or wealth. A well-painted towel in a portrait could indicate the subject's attention to cleanliness and their ability to afford quality textiles. Renaissance symbolism was complex, and apparently even bathroom accessories had deeper meanings. The Renaissance period also established the first towel fashion trends. Different regions developed distinctive styles. Venice favored elaborate embroidery, Florence preferred simple elegance, and Milan went for bold colors and patterns. People began choosing towels not just for function, but for aesthetic appeal. Renaissance nobility took towel luxury to new extremes. They had towels made from silk, decorated with precious metals, and even embedded with jewels. These were obviously not practical for actual drying, but were used for ceremonial purposes and to impress guests. The line between towel and art became increasingly blurred. The Renaissance also saw the development of the first towel etiquette books. These detailed manuals explained proper towel use for every social situation, how to hold your towel, when to offer it to guests, how to fold it appropriately. Renaissance society was obsessed with proper behavior, and towels were apparently subject to the same social rules as everything else. Renaissance women elevated towel making to an art form. They developed new embroidery techniques, incorporated expensive materials, and created towels that were more like textile sculptures than functional items. These artistic towels were displayed in homes like paintings, and using them for actual drying was considered almost barbaric. The Renaissance period also established the first international towel trade. Italian merchants exported fine towels across Europe, while importing exotic materials from Asia and the Americas. Spanish conquistadors brought back cotton from the New World, which revolutionized European textile production and made softer towels more widely available. But the Renaissance was just the beginning. The real towel revolution came with the Age of Exploration, when European contact with other civilizations introduced entirely new concepts of textile production and personal hygiene. When European explorers reached Asia, they discovered civilizations that had developed towel technologies far beyond anything Europe had achieved. Chinese silk towels were softer and more durable than anything Europeans had ever experienced. Japanese cotton techniques created towels with superior absorbency. Indian artisans could dye towels in colors and patterns that seemed impossible. The spice trade wasn't just about spices, it was also about textiles. European merchants began importing exotic towels as luxury goods, creating new markets for foreign textile technologies. Owning an Asian towel became the ultimate status symbol, proof that you had access to the most sophisticated trade networks of the age. European colonization of the Americas introduced cotton to European markets in quantities that revolutionized towel production. Cotton was softer, more absorbent, and easier to clean than the wool and linen Europeans had been using. The cotton trade would eventually transform the global economy, but it started with people wanting better towels. The Age of Exploration also introduced European concepts of towel use to other civilizations, often with mixed results. Native American societies had their own sophisticated approaches to personal cleanliness, but European missionaries insisted on introducing European-style towels as part of their civilization efforts. This cultural towel imperialism was part of broader colonial attempts to remake indigenous societies. European trading posts around the world became centers of towel exchange, where different textile traditions met and influenced each other. Portuguese traders in Asia, Dutch merchants in the Americas, and English colonists in India all contributed to a global exchange of towel technologies and techniques. The age of exploration also established the first global towel supply chains. Cotton grown in the Americas, silk produced in Asia, and dyes extracted from various tropical plants all combined to create towels that were truly international products. A single towel might contain materials from 4 different continents, processed using techniques from multiple civilizations. European naval exploration required new approaches to towel use. Ships had limited fresh water, so sailors needed towels that could be cleaned with salt water and still remain functional. This led to innovations in wool treatment and the development of quick, drying synthetic fibre blends centuries before the modern chemical industry. The age of exploration also introduced the first towel-related diplomatic incidents. Gifts of fine towels became part of international diplomacy, with the quality and style of presented towels sending subtle messages about the giver's respect for the recipient. Diplomatic protocols developed around proper towel gift giving, because apparently international relations could hinge on textile choices. Colonial administrators around the world had to adapt European towel use to local climates and conditions. Towels that worked perfectly in London were useless in tropical colonies, leading to innovations in lightweight, quick-drying fabrics. Colonial towel development was driven by practical necessity rather than luxury, creating more functional designs. The age of exploration also established the first global towel smuggling networks. High-quality towels were heavily taxed as luxury goods, creating black markets in premium textiles. Smugglers developed ingenious methods for concealing valuable towels in cargo shipments, and customs officials developed equally ingenious methods for finding them. But all this global exchange and exploration was building towards something bigger. The Industrial Revolution would completely transform how towels were made, who could afford them, and what they were capable of absorbing. Before industrialization, every towel was essentially handmade. Someone had to spin the thread, weave the fabric, and finish the cloth by hand. This made towels expensive and relatively rare, even among the middle classes. The Industrial Revolution changed everything by mechanizing textile production and making towels affordable for ordinary people. The first textile mills focused on basic cloth production, but it didn't take long for entrepreneurs to realize there was money in specialized towel manufacturing. Mills began producing towels exclusively, developing new weaving patterns and fabric treatments specifically designed for maximum absorbency and durability. Steam-powered looms could produce towels faster and more consistently than human weavers. Water-powered mills could operate continuously, churning out thousands of towels per day. The scale of production was unprecedented, and prices dropped accordingly. For the first time in human history, having a dry towel became an expectation rather than a luxury. The Industrial Revolution also standardized towel sizes and styles. Before mechanization, every towel was unique, made to the specifications of its owner or the whims of its creator. Industrial production created standard sizes, bath towels, hand towels, washcloths that are still used today. This standardization made towels interchangeable and commercially viable. Industrial dyeing processes introduced new colors and patterns to towel production. Chemical dyes could create colors that were brighter, more durable, and more consistent than natural dyes. Factories could produce towels in matching sets, creating the modern concept of coordinated bathroom accessories. The Industrial Revolution also created the first towel marketing campaigns. Manufacturers needed to differentiate their products in increasingly crowded markets, so they began advertising the superior qualities of their particular towels. Claims of superior absorbency, durability, and softness became common, establishing marketing techniques still used today. Industrial towel production also created new social dynamics around cleanliness and hygiene. As towels became more affordable, social expectations around personal cleanliness increased. Having clean, dry towels became a sign of respectability and moral character. The availability of towels helped drive Victorian obsessions with cleanliness and proper hygiene. Factory workers, ironically, often couldn't afford the towels they were producing. Early industrial capitalism created a situation where people spent their days making luxury goods they couldn't personally use. This contradiction became part of broader labor movements and social reform efforts. The Industrial Revolution also mechanized towel washing and care. Commercial laundries could clean hundreds of towels per day using steam, powered washing machines and mechanical dryers. This created service industries around towel maintenance, allowing even working-class families to have professionally cleaned towels. Industrial chemistry also introduced new towel treatments and finishes. Chemical processes could make towels softer, more absorbent, and more resistant to bacteria and odors. These treatments were often trade secrets, closely guarded by manufacturers who claimed superior technology. The Industrial Revolution established the first towel quality standards and testing procedures. Manufacturers developed methods for measuring absorbency, durability, and softness, creating objective criteria for towel quality. These testing methods allowed for product improvement and consumer protection. Industrial production also made possible the first disposable towels. Paper mills began producing single-use towels for commercial and industrial applications. These weren't the paper towels we know today, but they represented the first step toward disposable alternatives to traditional cloth towels. But industrialization also brought new problems. Factory-produced towels were often of inferior quality compared to handmade ones. The speed and scale of industrial production sometimes came at the expense of craftsmanship and durability. Consumer movements began demanding better quality control and truth in advertising. The Industrial Revolution also created the first towel-related labor disputes. Textile workers organized strikes and protests over working conditions in towel factories. The soft, luxurious towels they produced came at the cost of their own health and safety in poorly ventilated, dangerous factories. Industrial towel production also had environmental consequences that wouldn't be fully understood for decades. Chemical dyes polluted waterways, factory emissions affected air quality, and the demand for cotton drove agricultural practices that depleted soil and required intensive water use. The late Industrial Revolution also saw the first experiments with synthetic fibers. Chemists began developing artificial materials that could mimic or improve upon natural fibers. These early synthetics were often unsuccessful, but they laid the groundwork for modern towel materials. As the 19th century progressed, towel technology continued to evolve rapidly. The Victorian era brought new attitudes toward cleanliness, privacy, and domestic comfort that elevated towels from simple necessities to important household accessories. Victorian society was obsessed with propriety and cleanliness, and towels became essential tools in maintaining social respectability. The Victorian bathroom, when it existed, was a shrine to hygiene, and towels were the priests of this cleanliness cult. Every towel had its proper place, its specific use, and its appropriate care regimen. Victorian households developed elaborate towel hierarchies. Guest towels, never to be used by family members. Family towels, sorted by individual family member. Kitchen towels, bathroom towels, and specialty towels for specific purposes. Using the wrong towel for the wrong purpose was a serious breach of household etiquette. The Victorian era also established many towel traditions that persist today. The practice of giving towels as wedding gifts began in Victorian times, symbolizing the hope that the new couple would maintain a clean and proper household. Victorian wedding registries included extensive towel lists, specifying exactly which types and quantities were appropriate for newly married couples. Victorian medical theories also influenced towel use. Doctors believed that different fabrics had different health properties, leading to recommendations for specific towel materials for various conditions. Wool towels were prescribed for rheumatism, linen for sensitive skin, and cotton for general health maintenance. These medical towel theories were usually nonsense, but they were taken very seriously. Victorian women elevated towel embroidery to high art. Ladies spent countless hours decorating towels with elaborate patterns, monograms, and decorative borders. These embroidered towels were often too beautiful to use for actual drying, existing instead as displays of feminine skill and domestic artistry. The Victorian era also saw the first mass-produced towel patterns and designs. Manufacturers began producing towels with printed patterns, allowing middle-class families to have decorative towels without the time and skill required for hand embroidery. This democratization of towel beauty was part of broader Victorian efforts to bring refinement to ordinary life. Victorian households also developed sophisticated towel storage and organization systems. Linen closets became architectural features, with built-in shelving and organization systems designed specifically for towel storage. The proper folding and arrangement of towels became a domestic skill passed from mother to daughter. The Victorian era established many towel superstitions and folklore traditions. Dropping a towel was bad luck. Giving someone a towel as a gift required including a coin to avoid cursing the relationship. New mothers were given special towels, blessed by clergy, to protect their infants. These traditions reflected the mystical significance Victorians attached to everyday objects. Victorian hotels and boarding houses developed the first commercial towel services. Travellers could expect clean towels as part of their accommodation, establishing expectations for hospitality that continue today. Hotel towel service became a marker of quality and respectability. The Victorian era also saw the first towel theft problems. As towels became valuable and desirable, people began stealing them from hotels, public baths, and even private homes. Victorian newspapers regularly reported towel theft incidents, treating them as serious crimes against proper society. Victorian industrial development also created new towel materials and production techniques. Mills developed terry cloth, the looped fabric that dramatically increased absorbency. This innovation made towels more functional while maintaining their luxury status. The late Victorian era also introduced the first towel care products. Specialized soaps, starch preparations, and fabric treatments were developed specifically for towel maintenance. Victorian housekeeping manuals included detailed chapters on proper towel care, treating it as a serious domestic science. Victorian medical advances also influenced towel hygiene practices. As germ theory became accepted, people began understanding the importance of clean towels for preventing disease transmission. This led to more frequent towel washing and the development of antibacterial towel treatments. The Victorian era also established towel giving as a form of charity. Ladies' charitable societies organized towel drives for orphanages, hospitals, and poor families. Providing clean towels to the less fortunate became a way for wealthy Victorians to demonstrate their moral virtue while addressing practical needs. But Victorian towel culture was building towards something even more significant. The 20th century would bring 2 world wars, technological revolutions, and social changes that would completely transform how humans thought about and used towels. World War I represented a major disruption in towel production and use. Military requirements consumed enormous quantities of textiles, creating shortages of materials for civilian towel production. Families were encouraged to conserve towels, use them longer between washings, and make do with fewer and smaller towels. Military towel requirements also drove innovations in quick-drying, durable fabrics. Soldiers needed towels that could function in field conditions, without regular washing facilities or proper drying opportunities. Military research into towel technology would later influence civilian products. The war also introduced new hygienic concerns that affected towel use. Military medical officers understood that shared towels could spread disease among troops, leading to policies requiring individual towel ownership and regular replacement. These military hygiene practices influenced civilian understanding of towel-related disease transmission. World War I also created new manufacturing techniques as factories converted from luxury towel production to military supply. Mass production methods developed for military towels were later applied to civilian markets, making towels even more affordable and widely available. The war years also established towel rationing systems in many countries. Governments regulated towel production and distribution, ensuring that military needs were met while maintaining minimal civilian supplies. These rationing experiences taught people to value and conserve towels in ways their grandparents would have understood. Post-war reconstruction brought rapid expansion in towel production and innovation. Manufacturers who had developed new techniques for military production applied these methods to civilian markets, creating better, cheaper towels than had ever been available before. The 1920s brought new attitudes toward cleanliness, fashion, and domestic life that elevated towels to new levels of importance. The Jazz Age wasn't just about music and dancing. It was also about having the right towels to complement your modern lifestyle. Art Deco design influenced towel patterns and colors. Manufacturers began producing towels with geometric patterns, bold colors, and modern designs that reflected contemporary artistic movements. Towels became fashion accessories that needed to coordinate with bathroom decor and personal style. The 1920s also saw the first advertising campaigns that focused on towel luxury and indulgence rather than just function. Advertisements promised that the right towels could make you feel like royalty, transform your daily routine into a spa experience, and demonstrate your sophisticated taste to visitors. Technological advances in the 1920s also improved towel quality and variety. New chemical treatments could make towels softer, more absorbent, and longer lasting. Color, fast dyes meant that towels could maintain their appearance through multiple washings without fading or bleeding. The 1920s also established towels as popular wedding and housewarming gifts. Department stores developed extensive towel departments, with knowledgeable salespeople who could advise customers on appropriate towel selections for various occasions and recipients. But the good times couldn't last forever. The Great Depression of the 1930s brought new challenges to towel production and consumption, forcing people to reconsider what they really needed in terms of textile luxury. The Depression made towels luxury items again for many families. People made do with older towels longer, repaired damaged towels instead of replacing them, and shared towels among family members to reduce the need for multiple sets. Manufacturers responded to economic hardship by developing cheaper towel production methods and materials. Lower quality towels became available at affordable prices, allowing families to maintain basic dignity and cleanliness even during financial hardship. The Depression also created innovative towel recycling and repurposing practices. Old towels were cut up for cleaning rags, baby diapers, and other household uses. Nothing was wasted, and towels were used until they literally fell apart. Government relief programs sometimes included towel distribution, recognizing that access to basic hygiene materials was essential for public health and human dignity. These programs established precedents for considering towels a basic necessity rather than a luxury. The Depression also strengthened community sharing of towel resources. Neighbors borrowed towels for special occasions, shared washing and drying facilities, and collectively maintained towel supplies for emergencies. These community practices created social bonds and mutual support systems. But even during the Depression, towel technology continued to advance. Manufacturers developed more efficient production methods, created synthetic fibre blends that were cheaper than pure cotton, and improved chemical treatments that made lower quality materials more functional. The late 1930s also saw the first experiments with disposable towel alternatives. Paper companies began developing products that could replace cloth towels for certain uses, recognizing that convenience and hygiene might sometimes outweigh traditional preferences for reusable materials. Then came World War II, which would reshape towel production and use even more dramatically than the previous war. The scale and duration of World War II created unprecedented demands on textile resources and completely transformed how people thought about towels. World War II created severe shortages of materials needed for towel production. Cotton, wool, and synthetic materials were diverted to military use, creating civilian shortages that made towels genuinely scarce commodities. Rationing systems controlled towel purchases, and families were encouraged to make existing towels last as long as possible. Military towel requirements during World War II drove major innovations in fabric technology. The military needed towels that could function in tropical climates, survive field conditions, and resist bacterial growth. Research into these military requirements led to developments in synthetic fibers, antibacterial treatments, and quick drying technologies. The war also created new manufacturing techniques as factories converted from civilian to military production. These wartime innovations in mass production, quality control, and material efficiency would later revolutionize civilian towel manufacturing. World War II also established new hygiene standards based on military medical research. Understanding of disease transmission led to policies requiring individual towel ownership and regular replacement. These military hygiene practices influenced civilian health recommendations and towel use patterns. The war years also created international exchanges of towel technology as allies shared manufacturing techniques and materials. American towel production methods spread to Britain, while British innovations in wool treatment were adopted by American manufacturers. Post-war reconstruction brought explosive growth in towel production and consumption. Manufacturers who had developed new techniques for military production applied these methods to civilian markets, creating better, cheaper, and more varied towels than had ever been available. The 1950s represented a golden age of towel culture in many Western countries. Post-war prosperity, suburban development, and changing lifestyle patterns created unprecedented demand for household textiles, and towels benefited enormously from these trends. The 1950s suburban ideal included well-appointed bathrooms with coordinated towel sets. Manufacturers responded by producing matching towel collections in various colors and patterns, allowing homeowners to create sophisticated bathroom decor. Having the right towels became part of achieving the American dream. Technological advances in the 1950s also improved towel quality and variety dramatically. New synthetic fibers could be blended with cotton to create towels that were softer, more absorbent, and more durable than pure cotton alternatives. These synthetic blends also held colors better and resisted shrinking and fading. The 1950s also saw the first serious marketing research into towel preferences and buying patterns. Companies conducted surveys, focus groups, and market studies to understand what consumers wanted in towels. This research led to product improvements and more targeted marketing campaigns. Television advertising in the 1950s also transformed how towels were marketed. Visual media could demonstrate towel softness, absorbency, and luxury in ways that print advertising never could. Television commercials established many towel advertising techniques still used today. The 1950s also established towels as important elements of interior design. Home decorating magazines featured extensive coverage of bathroom design, with towels playing starring roles in creating cohesive, stylish spaces. Professional interior designers began including towel selection in their services. Department stores in the 1950s developed elaborate towel departments with extensive selections and knowledgeable sales staff. Shopping for towels became a serious consumer activity, with careful consideration of quality, style, and value. Store displays showcased towels as lifestyle accessories rather than mere functional items. The 1950s also saw the first experiments with luxury towel materials like Egyptian cotton and bamboo fibers. These premium materials commanded higher prices but offered superior softness, absorbency, and durability. Luxury towels became status symbols and popular gifts for special occasions. But the 1950s towel boom was just the beginning. The 1960s would bring counterculture movements, changing social attitudes, and technological innovations that would challenge traditional towel conventions and create entirely new approaches to personal hygiene and textile use. The 1960s counterculture movement challenged many traditional assumptions about cleanliness, hygiene, and consumer culture, including conventional approaches to towel use. Young people began questioning whether they really needed multiple sets of coordinated towels and whether simpler, more natural approaches might be preferable. The environmental movement of the 1960s also influenced towel choices. Concerns about chemical processing, synthetic materials, and excessive consumption led some people to prefer natural, minimally processed towels over high-tech synthetic alternatives. The environmental impact of towel production and disposal became considerations for conscious consumers. The 1960s also saw the first widespread adoption of paper towels as alternatives to cloth towels for many uses. Paper towel technology improved dramatically, creating products that were more absorbent, stronger, and more convenient than earlier versions. This created the first real competition to traditional cloth towels in centuries. The sexual revolution of the 1960s also influenced towel culture in unexpected ways. As social attitudes toward bodies and sexuality became more open, people became less inhibited about towel use and sharing. The Victorian prudishness around towel etiquette began to fade, replaced by more casual and practical approaches. The 1960s space program also contributed to towel innovation. NASA research into materials for space exploration led to developments in synthetic fibers, moisture, wicking technologies, and compact, lightweight textiles. These space-age innovations eventually found their way into civilian towel production. International travel became more common in the 1960s, exposing people to different towel cultures and traditions from around the world. Americans discovered Japanese hospitality towels, Europeans encountered American terry cloth luxury, and everyone began adopting the best ideas from other cultures. The 1960s also established the first serious academic research into towel design and functionality. Universities began studying textile engineering, human factors in towel use, and the psychology of cleanliness. This research led to more scientific approaches to towel design and marketing. But the real towel revolution was still coming. The 1970s would bring oil crises, environmental awareness, and technological advances that would fundamentally change how towels were made, what they were made from, and how people thought about their role in daily life. The 1970s oil crisis had unexpected consequences for towel production. Petroleum-based synthetic fibers became more expensive, leading manufacturers to rediscover natural materials and develop new production techniques that were less dependent on oil-based inputs. Environmental awareness in the 1970s also created demand for more sustainable towel production methods. Consumers began asking questions about water use in towel manufacturing, chemical treatments, and the environmental impact of towel disposal. Manufacturers responded with more eco-friendly production processes and materials. The 1970s also saw the first serious competition between different towel technologies. Cotton remained the traditional favorite, but improved synthetics, cotton synthetic blends, and exotic materials like bamboo and hemp began competing for market share. Consumer choice expanded dramatically. Fitness culture in the 1970s also influenced towel design. As more people began exercising regularly, there was increased demand for towels that could handle heavy perspiration, frequent washing, and active use. Sports towels became a specialized category with their own design requirements. The 1970s also established towels as important elements of hotel and hospitality industries. Hotels began competing on towel quality as part of their service offerings. Luxury hotels invested in premium towels as ways to differentiate themselves and justify higher room rates. Home decorating in the 1970s also elevated towels to new levels of design importance. Earth tones, natural materials, and coordinated bathroom suites became popular, with towels playing crucial roles in achieving desired aesthetic effects. Towel selection became part of expressing personal style and taste. The late 1970s also saw the first experiments with computerized towel manufacturing. Automated looms could produce towels with more consistent quality and more complex patterns than human operators. This automation reduced costs while improving product consistency. But the 1980s would bring even more dramatic changes. The decade of excess would transform towels from functional necessities into lifestyle accessories, status symbols, and expressions of personal identity. The 1980s were all about luxury, status, and conspicuous consumption, and towels were swept along with these cultural currents. Having the right towels became as important as having the right car or wearing the right clothes. Towel shopping became serious business. Designer towels emerged in the 1980s as fashion designers expanded into home accessories. Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, and other fashion brands began producing towel collections that carried the same prestige as their clothing lines. Wearing a designer towel became the ultimate in bathroom luxury. The 1980s also saw explosive growth in towel variety and specialization. Beach towels, gym towels, spa towels, travel towels, and dozens of other specialized categories emerged, each designed for specific uses and marketed to particular lifestyle segments. Technology in the 1980s also improved towel quality dramatically. New fiber treatments could make towels incredibly soft while maintaining durability. Color, fast dyes meant towels could maintain their appearance through hundreds of washings. Antibacterial treatments addressed hygiene concerns. The 1980s fitness boom also created demand for high-performance towels. Gym towels needed to be lightweight, highly absorbent, and quick drying. Athletic towel technology developed rapidly to meet these demanding requirements. Shopping mall culture in the 1980s also transformed towel retail. Specialized bath and linen stores provided extensive selections and expert advice. Towel shopping became an experience rather than just a transaction, with stores creating elaborate displays and offering personalized service. Credit card culture in the 1980s also made luxury towels more accessible. People could buy expensive towel sets without immediate payment, leading to increased consumption of premium products. Debt-financed towel luxury became a symbol of 1980s excess. The late 1980s also introduced the first computerized towel design systems. Manufacturers could create and test new patterns, colors, and textures digitally before committing to production. This accelerated innovation and reduced the time between design concepts and market availability. But the party couldn't last forever. The 1990s brought economic recession, environmental concerns, and changing lifestyle patterns that would force the towel industry to reconsider its priorities and direction. The early 1990s recession made luxury towels less appealing to many consumers. People began looking for value rather than status, leading to growth in mid-market towel segments and decline in premium categories. Practical functionality became more important than designer labels. Environmental awareness in the 1990s also influenced towel choices. Organic cotton towels, chemical-free processing, and sustainable production methods became selling points for environmentally conscious consumers. The towel industry began adopting more sustainable practices. The 1990s also saw the first serious challenge to cotton's dominance in towel production. Microfiber towels, made from synthetic materials, offered superior absorbency and durability while being lighter and more compact. These synthetic alternatives began winning market share from traditional cotton towels. Technology in the 1990s also enabled mass customization of towel products. Consumers could order towels with personalized embroidery, custom colors, and specific size requirements. This customization capability made towels more personal and meaningful to their owners. The rise of warehouse shopping in the 1990s also changed towel retail. Stores like Costco offered bulk towel purchases at significantly reduced prices, making quality towels more affordable for middle-class families. Volume purchasing became a strategy for accessing better towels at lower costs. International trade in the 1990s also globalized towel production. Manufacturing moved to countries with lower labor costs, making towels more affordable but raising questions about working conditions and quality control. The global towel supply chain became increasingly complex. The late 1990s also introduced internet shopping for towels. Online retailers could offer vast selections without the space constraints of physical stores. Customer reviews and detailed product descriptions helped buyers make informed decisions about towels they couldn't physically examine. But the internet was just the beginning. The new millennium would bring digital technology, global connectivity, and changing lifestyle patterns that would revolutionize how people bought, used, and thought about towels. The early 2000s brought internet shopping mainstream, completely transforming how people bought towels. Online retailers could offer unlimited selection, competitive prices, and convenient delivery. Traditional retail stores struggled to compete with the convenience and variety of online towel shopping. Customer reviews in the 2000s also changed how people evaluated towel quality. Instead of relying on marketing claims or sales staff recommendations, consumers could read detailed reviews from other customers who had actually used the products. This transparency forced manufacturers to focus more on actual performance rather than just marketing. The 2000s also saw the emergence of towel subscription services. Companies began offering regular delivery of fresh towels, eliminating the need for customers to shop, compare, or even think about towel replacement. This subscription model treated towels as consumable services rather than durable goods. Technology in the 2000s also enabled better towel materials and treatments. Nanotechnology created towels with enhanced properties like stain resistance, odor control, and improved absorbency. These high-tech towels performed better than traditional materials while lasting longer. The 2000s fitness boom also drove innovation in athletic towels. Gyms, yoga studios, and sports clubs created demand for towels that could handle intensive use while remaining hygienic and pleasant to use. Athletic towel technology became increasingly sophisticated. Social media in the late 2000s also influenced towel culture. People began sharing photos of their bathroom setups, creating pressure to have attractive, coordinated towels that would look good in photos. Instagram-worthy bathrooms required Instagram-worthy towels. The 2000s also saw the first serious discussions about towel sustainability and environmental impact. Consumers began considering the water use, chemical processing, and disposal implications of their towel choices. Eco-friendly towels became a growing market segment. But the 2000s were just preparation for the towel revolution that would come in the 2010s. The smartphone decade would bring new technologies, changing lifestyles, and global connectivity that would completely reshape towel culture. Smartphones in the 2010s transformed towel shopping through mobile commerce, price comparison apps, and instant access to product information. People could research towel options while standing in stores, compare prices across multiple retailers, and make informed purchase decisions in real time. Social media in the 2010s also created new towel culture phenomena. Instagram and Pinterest made bathroom aesthetics important to people who had never cared about interior design. Having photogenic towels became essential for maintaining social media presence. The sharing economy in the 2010s also influenced towel use patterns. Airbnb hosts needed to provide quality towels for guests, creating demand for durable, attractive towels that could handle frequent use by strangers. Hotel-quality towels became accessible to ordinary homeowners. Sustainability concerns in the 2010s also drove innovation in eco-friendly towel materials and production methods. Bamboo towels, recycled fibre towels, and chemical-free processing became mainstream options for environmentally conscious consumers. The 2010s also saw the emergence of smart towels with embedded technology. Some experimental towels included sensors that could monitor usage patterns, track washing needs, or even provide health data based on skin contact. These smart textiles represented the beginning of truly high-tech towel solutions. Subscription services in the 2010s also expanded to include premium towel replacement programs. Companies offered to regularly replace towels before they showed wear, ensuring customers always had fresh, high-quality towels without having to think about maintenance or replacement. The 2010s also brought new understanding of towel hygiene and health implications. Medical research revealed the importance of proper towel care in preventing bacterial growth and disease transmission. This knowledge influenced towel design, materials, and care recommendations. But the 2010s were just setting the stage for the most dramatic towel transformation yet. The 2020s would bring a global pandemic, remote work, and technological advances that would fundamentally change how people lived, worked, and used towels. The COVID-19 pandemic beginning in 2020 created unprecedented awareness of hygiene and cleanliness, elevating towels from simple accessories to essential health tools. Proper towel hygiene became part of disease prevention strategies, and people began paying attention to towel cleanliness in ways they never had before. Remote work during the pandemic also changed towel use patterns. With people spending more time at home, there was increased demand for comfortable, luxurious towels that could make home feel like a spa or hotel. Towels became part of creating pleasant work from home environments. Supply chain disruptions during the pandemic also revealed how dependent people had become on global towel production networks. Shortages of certain towel types led people to reconsider their consumption patterns and appreciate the towels they had. The pandemic also accelerated adoption of antimicrobial towel treatments and materials. Consumers became more interested in towels that could resist bacterial and viral growth, leading to innovations in silver, infused fibers, copper treatments, and other antimicrobial technologies. Video conferencing during the pandemic also made bathroom backgrounds more visible, creating pressure to have attractive towels that would look good in video calls. Even functional items like towels became subject to new aesthetic pressures. The early 2020s also saw continued growth in sustainable and eco-friendly towel options. Climate change awareness drove demand for towels made from renewable materials, produced using environmentally friendly methods, and designed for long-term durability rather than frequent replacement. Technology in the early 2020s also enabled new approaches to towel customization and personalization. On-demand manufacturing could produce towels with specific colors, patterns, and monograms without requiring large minimum orders. Mass customization became accessible to ordinary consumers. But towel technology continued advancing rapidly. By the mid-2020s, towels had become sophisticated products incorporating multiple technologies and serving diverse functions beyond simple drying. Advanced materials in the mid-2020s created towels with properties that would have seemed impossible just decades earlier. Self-cleaning towels used photocatalytic treatments to break down bacteria and odors when exposed to light. Quick dry towels could be completely dry within minutes of use. Smart towels with embedded sensors could monitor health metrics through skin contact, track usage patterns, and even communicate with home automation systems to optimize washing schedules. These towels represented the convergence of textiles and technology. Sustainability reached new levels in the mid-2020s with towels made from fully recyclable materials, produced using renewable energy, and designed for circular economy principles. Some towels could be composted at the end of their useful life, completing closed-loop production cycles. The towel industry also became more responsive to diverse consumer needs. Towels designed specifically for different skin types, medical conditions, and cultural preferences became widely available. Universal design principles created towels that worked better for people with disabilities or mobility limitations. By the late 2020s, towels had become integral components of smart home ecosystems. They could communicate with washing machines to optimize cleaning cycles, work with home automation systems to coordinate laundry schedules, and even provide feedback on user health and hygiene patterns. And here we are today, in a world where towels have evolved from simple drying cloths to sophisticated lifestyle accessories, health tools, and technological marvels. The humble towel that started as rough linen in ancient Egypt has become a complex product incorporating advanced materials, smart technology, and sustainable design principles. Modern towels can monitor your health, clean themselves, communicate with your smartphone, and even help save the planet through sustainable production and materials. We've gone from people sharing communal drying cloths in medieval monasteries to everyone having personalized, high-tech towels designed for their specific needs and preferences. But perhaps most remarkably, despite all this technological advancement, the basic human need that towels address remains exactly the same as it was thousands of years ago. People still get wet, and they still want to get dry in a way that's comfortable, hygienic, and dignified. The towel's fundamental purpose hasn't changed, even as everything else about it has been revolutionized. Today's towel industry continues pushing boundaries, developing new materials, improving sustainability, and finding ways to make towels more functional, comfortable, and environmentally responsible. Researchers are working on towels that can change colors, towels that never need washing, and towels that can provide therapeutic benefits through embedded treatments. The future of towels promises even more innovations. Nanotechnology may create towels with programmable properties that can be adjusted for different uses. Biotechnology might enable towels made from lab-grown materials with superior performance and sustainability. Artificial intelligence could optimize towel design for individual users' specific needs and preferences. But no matter how advanced towel technology becomes, the basic human experience remains wonderfully unchanged. You still stumble to the bathroom in the morning, splash water on your face, and reach for that familiar rectangle of fabric. It might be made from space-age materials, embedded with sensors, and produced using cutting-edge sustainable methods. But it's still fundamentally the same thing humans have been reaching for since the first Egyptian realized that wet skin was uncomfortable. The towel's journey from ancient linen cloth to high-tech smart textile reflects humanity's broader journey from simple survival to complex civilization. We've always been creative problem solvers, constantly working to make life more comfortable, more convenient, and more pleasant. The towel is just one example of how human ingenuity has transformed even the most basic necessities into sophisticated solutions. And every morning, as you reach for your towel, you're participating in a ritual that connects you to thousands of years of human history. The Roman citizen in his elaborate bathhouse, the medieval monk in his monastery, the Victorian lady with her embroidered linens, the space-age consumer with their smart towel, all of them shared that same moment of satisfaction when rough terry cloth meets wet skin and makes everything better. So the next time someone tells you that towels are boring, remember this epic journey. Remember the Egyptian priests blessing sacred linen, the Roman slaves heating towels over fires, the medieval guilds regulating towel production, the Industrial Revolution democratizing towel access, and the modern innovations making towels smarter and more sustainable. Your towel has traveled through empires and across continents, survived wars and economic collapses, adapted to changing technologies and social norms, and emerged as a testament to human persistence and creativity. It may look simple hanging there on your towel rack, but it carries the weight of human history and the promise of an even more comfortable future. The history of towels is really the history of civilization itself, the story of humans refusing to accept discomfort when ingenuity could provide a better solution. From the first person who realized that fabric could absorb water to today's engineers developing self-cleaning smart towels, We've never stopped trying to make the experience of getting dry a little bit better. And that, my friends, is why your morning towel deserves a moment of appreciation. It's not just a piece of fabric. It's the latest chapter in humanity's ongoing quest to turn basic necessities into opportunities for comfort, beauty, and innovation. Every time you dry your hands, you're participating in one of our species' most enduring and successful collaborative projects. The towel revolution continues, and you are part of it.